What's up, everyone? Hello and welcome to episode number 314 of the VK Bros with Jason and Alex VK. And we've got a lot of exciting things to talk to you about today. The first exciting thing I'm going to start off with, and I don't know if you have felt this as well, Alex, but it kind of feels like spring is coming. Like spring is in the air. The days are slightly longer. The weather is slightly warmer.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Oh, because pollen is going to come and kill you?
No. I haven't had the allergy stuff for a while, but no, it's the heat, man. I love this weather. I love the cold. I love wearing jeans. I love wearing jumpers. I love it being 25 degrees in the middle of the day.
Yep.
It's perfect. I love it being like 13 degrees in the morning. I get this. I still go and sit on the deck in the morning as the sun's rising with my shirt off to get the sun. I love it. I love it. And then we're about to, and I feel like it's only been 3 weeks of that. And then I'm going to baste in my own sweat for the next 9 months.
Well, as you know, probably better than just about anyone, I tends to sweat a lot. So
yeah,
I do. But the reason why I think it's exciting is because like my two favorite seasons of the year are autumn and spring, especially in Queensland and on the Goldie, you know, like it's tops of 24 to 26. Like it's not cold at all. And it's just beautiful, right? But like spring is a time of renewal and new beginnings. And, you know, I've seen the birds that are starting to have babies. Like I shared on the story the other day about saving a baby minor bird from my backyard because it flew over the Callabon fence and it couldn't fly all the way up to get back over the top of it again. And I was actually surprised at the amount of hate that I received for that clip. Because people hate those birds, man.
Yeah. Oh, are they introduced? Are they a pest?
Yeah, I think they're Asian minor birds.
Because I know they're a pest to other birds.
Yeah,
like they hate other birds.
Yeah, so I think this is what Pauline Hanson was warning us about back in the 90s about being swamped by Asian minor birds. But yeah, copped a lot of hate for that, so that was interesting. But look, it is a time of new beginnings, and like just to take you guys back just briefly. Just remember what it felt like, especially long-term listeners of the show. Remember what it felt like back in, say, 2022. Like right in the midst of the pandemic. Right in the midst of it. When you had the Democrats controlling the White House. You had big tech all controlling social media and what we were and weren't allowed to say. You had censorship everywhere. Before Elon bought Twitter, right? Mm-hmm. And it felt like a lot of people felt like this is hopeless. This is hopeless. We just can't solve this problem now. We can't change things. And as we said on the show back then, as the old saying goes, the night is darkest before the dawn. Yeah. And look at how much the world has changed since 2022. It's only 4 years, but it looks very different today than what it looked like back then.
It's funny that a lot of quiet people at the moment, because here's me trying to now I want to re-poke the bear.
Yeah.
And I'm going around looking for it. Hey, let's talk about it. Oh, you don't want to talk about it? Oh, you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the amount of times that I have been called, I can't remember if I said it to you directly or said it to you on the show. You're not a doctor. You're not an epidemiologist. You don't know any about. Well, it turns out we knew more than what your doctor did and what your epidemiologist. All the doctors and epidemiologists that you're allowed to hear from, turns out we knew more than all of them.
That's right.
Every single one that you heard was wrong, categorically wrong. And we were right. A car dealer and a landscaper were right.
Mm-hmm.
And your scientists were all wrong.
Yeah. And do you know why I reckon I was right on this stuff? Because I touched grass for a living. And I didn't live on the internet, and I didn't live in academia like your socialist comrades over at university. I touch grass for a living. You look at the world, you observe it, and you make up your own conclusions. So yes.
The big thing. Sorry. I would say actually the bigger thing is thinking about thinking. And so am I just receiving a piece of information, or am I going to grab that piece of information, have a look into it, and dig deep and peel a couple layers back? Because it only took you to peel a couple layers back to realize, oh, wait, it isn't what it says it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, so a couple of things to get into. Number one, we want to make a bit of a special announcement on today's show.
Yeah, I'm excited by this.
Because we have been working on some stuff in the background, and our own website, www.thevkbros.com, is now live. So we've sort of, over the years, kind of been curating what we're trying to do here on the channel. And let me just make this look slightly less janky. There you go. For the commenter a few weeks ago talking about our setup and the appearance, I hope that alleviates some stress for you. So here's the thing, guys. Here's the new thing, okay?
Oh, we love the feedback too, by the way.
We do love it. Throw it at us, especially all of the ridicule stuff. We love that too.
Yeah, we love it.
So this is the way the VK Bros is going to work moving forward. We're still going to have the long-form podcast every single week. The podcast is part news that you've never heard of, part us digging through and doing all the research so you don't actually have to, and part us having a lot of fun along the way, because we talk about some really, really heavy stuff, but you got to have fun at the same time too, right? So it's part news, part entertainment. That's what we're aiming for with the show. The second resource that we have is our Instagram page. So out of all the social media platforms, Instagram is where I spend the most time. It's where we get the most engagement. And Instagram, the Instagram page, if you don't follow us, please go on there, give us a follow. We share a lot of things on that page that are relevant to the show, but probably aren't important enough for us to actually bring up on the show as part of the long form conversation. So heaps of additional information gets shared to the Instagram page. Now we've got the website. So the website is going to be our new centralized hub for number one. If anything goes wrong in the tech space and the censorship begins again, and you find that you can't reach us, you can't find us anymore because we're shadow banned again and all that sort of stuff, we now have this website where you can go to, you can find our episodes, you can contact us, all of those things. Now, the second part of the website is we are going to start writing some long-form blog content. And particularly now in hindsight of COVID, one of the biggest things that I think about a lot is you too, we essentially did a PhD in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like we did more study on COVID in real time than most people have done in their actual university courses and have received pieces of paper and degrees for. So we know we've actually forgotten more about COVID than most people will ever even know about it. So we are going to start writing some long-form content, some retrospectives on COVID. We want to note down a lot of the key events that so many people have forgotten about or never even knew in the first place. And now, let's say that you do have your left-wing friends who bought into the COVID hysteria, who have woken up a little bit. It's been their weapons of mass destruction moment that's opened their eyes. You can actually have a resource now where you can refer to them and go, hey, this is a long form, say a blog about the different elements to the pandemic as they happened. And you can actually go and independently research every single one of these things that's written down, and you can find that they are true and they are truthful. And that will allow them to then peel back the onion on so many more different things that they'd never even thought about before. So the blog's going to be really, really cool. And we are going to start adding to that more and more over the coming days and weeks. The last thing is donations. So we are a value for value show. We have been doing the show. So it's now August, okay? So in 10 days, it'll be 6 years straight that we've done this show, because our first episode dropped on the 17th of August, 2020. So soon it'll be 6 years straight. And we have done this completely free of charge for 6 straight years. Now, we had the conversation back at the end of 2020 when COVID first ramped up and we started noticing the shadow banning on YouTube. We spoke about it and we said, we can either not talk about it like everyone else is, or talk around it to try to keep the engagement up for money, or we can be honest about the pandemic, what we honestly believe about it. And we decided to be honest because we thought that was so much more important than a couple of dollars that we might be able to pick up from social media advertising and stuff like that. So we want to be strictly advertising free. Yes, they'll run ads against our content on YouTube and Rumble. We get essentially $0 from that because we don't have enough subscribers yet. But if you appreciate the way that we deliver you news, if you got any value out of it, if you bought Bitcoin at 20 grand back in 2020 when we told you to, if you didn't vaccinate your kids like we told you not to, and you've seen the after effects in your anecdotal network, and we potentially saved you from having that outcome for your own children, all of that sort of stuff. If you want to support us at all, There are multiple ways you can do it, but you can come to the website. You can support us directly with some crypto payments so we can invest that money into improving the show and improving our ability to research and bring you the news that you really need to hear.
Let me just run through how to operate this. It was funny because I was having a talk with my my barista this morning who has been dabbling in and out of crypto, hated it for a while, made a bunch of money of it. I had convinced him at one period of time to accept Bitcoin for coffee payments.
Yep.
And then as we've all been in a situation, we needed the money, cashed it all out. It would have been worth double, but but now there's a lot of things that he's trying to buy that is in this crypto
ecosystem.
And he's getting frustrated because the bank has taken 2 days to get the money across into the exchange accounts. Then you've got to move from the exchange account to your wallet address. So a bit of like the higher level thinking I want people to get used to is you're not just doing this for us.
Yeah.
So once you buy into this crypto infrastructure, I guarantee your life will be better.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, so everyone goes, oh, it's so hard. Actually, line by line, there's less work involved in doing a crypto transaction than there is a banking transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're trying to buy a $5 coffee off your friend or something that you've dealt with forever, sure, all that infrastructure's already been built. You've been through the hard yards, so it's easy. But I'm telling you, you need to get familiar with this system because it's going to be a rival system to banking very soon. We've got the Clarity Act trying to go through US Congress right now, which is basically going to cement stable coins and crypto into the US financial system.
Yeah.
Okay. That will happen. And when it happens, it's going to accelerate it even more. Okay. So what I just want to show you a little bit of a demo here. I put 2 addresses on here. One's a Bitcoin address because we love Bitcoin. That's the only crypto that we actually support.
Yep.
Is Bitcoin. Okay. And I've got Ethereum here. And the reason why I put Ethereum is because US stable coins like USDC on Ethereum or Tether or USDT on Ethereum, it's the same address.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you wanted to operate in a US stable coin, which is a 1-to-1 coin paired to the US dollar, use Tether, use USDC on the Ethereum network, and then this address will work.
Yeah.
Or if you want to do a Bitcoin transaction, you own Bitcoin already, you want to send it to us, you can use it here. So it's as simple as, let's say you want to flick us $10, type $10 into this thing here, and then you have a QR code. Scan the QR code if you've got your wallet on your phone, and it will bring up the prompts. Bang, 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 done. If you have an internal wallet on your desktop, for example, you can copy the address and paste it in that. Or if you've got an internal wallet, you can actually select this choose wallet thing. It'll automatically find a wallet that's on your system, and you can do it that way.
Yep.
If there was ever a time that we're going to practice how to do a transaction, it would be great if it was for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then, Jason will be there on social media to support you if you get stuck with anything. But it really helps us with using it there's some investments that we want to make in it. Like even the website, still got to host it, costs money. It looks very sexy. Now we built this ourselves. Okay. So I'm going to sprig my new business as well. But there are costs associated with building the infrastructure. We want to upgrade the cameras. We probably want to upgrade some of the software. It all costs money.
I mean, look at the Bureau of Meteorology. It cost them $96 million just to make a website.
Right. And we made this beautiful one. And I'm really proud of this website. I think it looks great, performs great. It's got a link to all our videos on Rumble. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Okay. If you need a website, come to us. All right. Shango Technologies. It's a company that I've had for years and years. I've been using it to build another piece of software, but now we've got the capabilities to build cool products like this. So if you need a website and you want someone that you trust and you don't want to pay through the nose because it's still extremely expensive to go get the stuff done, come and talk to us and we'll look after you.
Yeah. And so just to wrap this part of the show up, We do really appreciate you guys being here, supporting us week in, week out. There are so many ways you can support the channel. Obviously, donations would be great, but it's not an expectation, especially during a cost of living crisis. The best ways you can support us are sharing the show, liking all of our content, leaving comments, doing all the stuff that pushes us deeper out into the algorithm. Audio listeners, can you jump on your podcast app and leave us a 5-star review? That helps push us out to other people who listen to content that's similar to ours already. But let's wrap that up. Enough self-dealing, but we will remind you week in, week out as we go. All right.
Do you want to hear the gayest thing I've ever done?
Yeah, I do.
I bought a hibiscus Fanta.
Right. I didn't even know.
And it's this color, which is not the color of anything in the natural world. And it's gross.
And I bet you can only get them in Brisbane as well.
It's really bad.
All right, let's go to the first story, which is a bit of a follow-on from last week. So obviously last week was our gigantic victory lap. I had spent the whole week joining other people, like-minded people, in our victory lap. But we showed Fauci's testimony where he pled the fifth 111 times straight. Now, actually, can you go to the other one first? Sorry, because the first one's got the clip. So what was interesting out of that hearing is at the end of it, Rand Paul basically threatened to have a Senate vote on holding Fauci in contempt of Congress. And the whole point of it was this. We spoke about last week about how Fauci had his blanket pardon from 2014 to 2024. However, there is already legal precedent that you are unable to plead the Fifth, and pleading the Fifth Amendment means that you are absolving yourself of saying anything that may incriminate you. Because he could not incriminate himself, because he had already had a pardon for everything discussed in these hearings, this then becomes a new potential crime, right? Being held in contempt of court. So,
does the pardon end at the date that the pardon was written?
Well, it had an end date on it, which was a date in 2024, which I believe was Biden's last day in office. So yes, it did have an end date. So this is a new crime.
Just a quick note. Did you see the clip? I think I sent it to you. Donald Trump with the table of kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think they're drawing pictures on like White House things, and Donald Trump's. This isn't on camera. Like he doesn't know.
He doesn't know he's being recorded. Yeah.
And dude, it's so funny. He goes like, "I'll sign these for you. You can put these on eBay. You can probably get $25,000 for this. If Biden signed this, he'd use an auto pen. Do you know what an auto pen is?"
And just as another reminder, I've shared a couple of clips recently on the Instagram page just of Biden speaking during the pandemic. Like, please. No one forget, we literally had a strung-up corpse running the greatest superpower in the world for 4 straight years. And we were all confused as to why things were starting to go bad.
Trump has replaced, in the lineup of all the past presidents in the White House, he's replaced Biden's picture with a picture of the auto pen.
Yeah. Well, it did all the heavy lifting. All right.
You cannot admit that he is not the funniest president of all time.
Well, we said in the lead up to the last election that whether it goes really well or really poorly, it's going to be way more entertaining for us. So at least it's provided some... Sorry?
Pause.
All right, we're back, because at the moment you guys don't donate enough and we still need to pay the bill, so the work never stops. All right, let's play the clip. So this is a clip of the Senate voting on whether or not to hold Fauci in contempt. So if you can just roll it, please.
Question is on reporting of an original resolution regarding contempt of Congress. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Johnson.
Yes.
Senator Langford.
Aye.
Senator Scott.
Yes.
Senator Hawley.
Aye.
Senator Moreno.
On behalf of the millions of people harmed by Anthony Fauci, resoundingly yes.
Senator Ernst. Aye. Senator Moody. Aye. Senator Peters.
No.
Senator Hassan.
No.
Senator Blumenthal.
No.
Senator Fetterman.
No.
Senator Kim.
No.
Senator Gallego.
No by proxy.
Senator Slotkin.
No by proxy.
Senator Paul.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 8, the nays are 5. On the vote by proxy, and for the record only, the yeas are 0, the nays are 2. On this vote, the yeas are 8, the nays are 5, and the motion is agreed.
Seeing no other motions, the question is on.
So, can you bring up the other story that I had? Sorry. Because that'll give us a little bit more information about it. So look, one of the most interesting things, obviously, at the beginning, just to comment on, is the fact that every single Republican voted in favor of it, and every single Democrat voted against it. Now, this is one of the things that we constantly try to speak to people about in an open, honest fashion. If you claim to approach politics and social sciences objectively, you must be willing to have your mind changed when supplied with new evidence.
Yeah.
The fact that every single Democrat voted against holding him in contempt, when you really think about it, it is pure and simple a question of law. It's not a question of ideology or political leaning. It is a question of law. Could you hold him in contempt for his conduct at the hearing? The answer is yes, but every single Democrat voted against it.
I would like to sort of take that a bit further. You have a moral duty as well as a politician.
Mm-hmm.
So you're supposed to represent your constituents.
Yeah.
That's not a representation of your constituents.
It's not.
You're supposed to be doing what is morally right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not right to have Fauci up there who, and think about it this way, every aspect of the rollout was based off his directives.
Yeah.
And now he can't even tell you how he got to those directives.
Absolutely.
So he's rug pulled us
Mm-hmm.
for the entire thing. No reasonable person would think that it's morally justifiable to defend those actions.
And I guarantee you that there are far left Democrats in America who absolutely hate Donald Trump, who also now hold Fauci in contempt for lying to them. And their representatives are no longer representing their wishes either. So let's move on. So this was a quick write-up from Matt Taibbi. Senate votes to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt, obtains his phone. So just scroll down. The Senate Homeland Security Committee voted Thursday to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress over his refusal to answer questions during testimony before the committee last week, arguing that he inappropriately invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. In quotes, holding a witness in contempt is a serious thing and it should be rare, Senator Rand Paul, the committee chairman, said as the panel gathered on Thursday. But the contempt power exists for precisely this circumstance. The contempt resolution described how Fauci would be proceeded against in the manner and form provided by law, pursuant to two statutes, and I won't bother reading them, for refusal to, answer questions pertinent to the subject under scrutiny. Paul indicated that if the committee voted as it did, he'd immediately refer the matter to the Department of Justice, which is not obligated to prosecute. The DOJ told the Washington Post it seriously reviews all congressional referrals. Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal broke another story last night. A Senate panel investigating Dr. Anthony Fauci has obtained a copy of the doctor's iPhone, potentially securing even more records related to the doctor's actions during COVID-19 pandemic. The copy of the phone was transferred by the Department of Health and Human Services to the Senate Homeland Security Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which is chaired by Senator Ron Johnson, who is one of the people who voted yes for his contempt charge. The revelation comes just days after copies of Fauci's journals were publicly released following their transfer from HHS to Congress. Two Republican senators, Johnson and Rand Paul of Kentucky, have increased pressure on Fauci in recent days to answer questions related to pandemic health measures and the origins of COVID-19. Data from Fauci's phone is a good bet to add to public understanding both of COVID's origins and the official response to the pandemic. As noted above, Paul already released Fauci's diaries, in addition to the less covered batch of investigation records posted last Tuesday. And then he just goes on to basically say they've got more information coming. So this is what we've been discussing for a while, right? We're unlikely to get the sort of justice that all of us who listen to this program will want to see from Fauci. But this is so similar to the stories about how, like, they got the mobsters and the mafia guys out of New York City, for example. They never are able to actually convict them for the massive crimes, whether it's murder or drug racketeering or whatever. They end up getting them on other things like tax evasion and stuff like that. So the end result is the same. They do end up serving some time. But the number one thing is the absolute loss of public trust in the institutions that were chaired by these people. That needs to be the lesson that comes out of this. Have you got comments on it, Al?
I think it just goes right back to how we started the show, which is you need to understand that these systems that are in place, and we spend more time arguing about how these systems work than we do the output of the decisions that were made. Okay, the inputs or the outputs. And that's where I become more and more libertarian every time we do this. It's all a song and dance. Okay? Fauci is not going to be nothing's going to happen to him. Nothing. There's a bit of pantomime in that they'll throw him up, they'll throw all this stuff here, they'll invest heaps and heaps of time, but I'm not holding my breath that anything's going to happen. Okay? Do I think it should? Yes, it should. Should you try? Yeah, you should try. But if you follow this out to its logical endpoint, what will probably happen is not a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you know that, you need to go back to the beginning and say, how do I live my life knowing that these are the structures in place after the fact? So, for example, he's going to get away with essentially making this disease, spreading it, and then handling it incorrectly.
He's getting away with murder.
He's literally getting away with murder.
Yeah.
Okay? He's also getting away with defrauding public money because he used public money to do it. He's also guilty of numerous things against the Geneva Convention, which can't get done because he experimented on humans. Okay. But nothing's going to happen. So when you as the individual on the ground are told you have to do this because the institutions say so, look at this example.
Yeah.
Why should I do it? Why should I be the butt of this decision when the person who's making the decision, rightly or wrongly, is not going to be held accountable? Why do I have to be held accountable for it if the person creating the infrastructure is not?
That's right.
You are a free individual person. You can take license over your life. Use this as an example of why the system's not there for you. It's for them, okay? And you need to do what's best for you and your family. And like we said at the start, every single person that's been that has fought in the courts about having their rights taken away from them during COVID have won.
Yeah.
We said it. You're gonna, and like I'm telling people now, go out and see employment lawyers now. If you got fired for it, go out and see an employment lawyer. You're gonna get cut a fat check, dude. You're gonna get paid a fat check because they were wrong and you were right.
And there's still cases ongoing at the moment too. There's the Melissa McCann vaccine injury case, which is still going through the courts. I think they've got more submissions coming up. There's also a big case in Queensland at the moment, an anti-mandate case as well. And as you said, Alex, like one of the most interesting things about that anti-mandate case in Queensland is no media is talking about this at all. Of course, you know, $67 million from a journalism assistance fund goes a long way. But what is really interesting about that vaccine mandate case in Queensland is that the plaintiff has brought forward 13 different experts to testify, and the government has brought 0. Because now, all of a sudden, there are no experts that are willing to testify on behalf of the COVID response. So that should tell you everything. And just for people, I've explained this story on the show before, but I just think it's good for all the new listeners that we've had coming through. Thank you. Happy to have you here. Thanks for joining. One of the first moments in my life that forced me to stop trusting the experts was almost 20 years ago. And it's when I used to go on routine dental visits every single year, right? As most people do. They tell you to do. You have to go and get a checkup every single year. And I was a salesperson when I first started going to this dental office. And I went in one time and they told me that I had a filling that I needed to do and to organize time to come back and do the filling. And I just never got around to it. I was just like, whatever. Like, I didn't have any tooth pain or whatever. It wasn't bothering me. Didn't see it or anything like that. I'm like, whatever. So I just never did it. And then a year later, I went back and I had a feeling that needed doing, but it was in a different tooth. So this is back when the dentists were telling you that teeth can't repair themselves, right? There's a lot of evidence about it now that they can. And so anyway, I had this feeling that was required. And anyway, same thing happens. Life gets in the way. Look, as a salesperson, I was working like 6 days a week. I was busy. I just didn't have time for this. No pain. I was fine. Then I got promoted. And so when I went back to that same dentist the year after, I had to refill out this new patient form to, any updates, update of address, all that sort of stuff. And I mentioned my promotion. And then all of a sudden, when I go into this dental chair, now I've got 3 fillings that are required. Right. But again, in a different area, different tooth. And so then I'm just sitting there thinking like, no, you're just trying to rinse me because now you know that I'm making more money. Now you're trying to rinse me for more unnecessary dental work. Right? And then that was just one of those things. And like, I literally have never had a filling in my entire life. That was almost 20 years ago. My teeth should have fallen out right by now if that was the case, but they have not, right? So one of the biggest problems that I see in society, and this is one of the biggest psyops that ever happened to our generation and the generations beneath us, is this handing over of all of your thinking about important things to quote unquote experts. And Alex and I are uniquely positioned to speak about this because we were car salesmen, right? We were, as far as society looks, we're down there with the lowest of the low. It's like car salespeople, real estate, and lawyers. Like we're all at the bottom, right? Yeah. No one trusts us. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust a salesperson up front at face value. Let them earn your trust when they show you how much they actually know, right? But the fact is, we were still the experts on cars. So if you would have a customer come in asking you about cars, we were the experts. It was our job to know about not only our own product, but everyone else's product too. And like, hey, you might think that you want to buy this car, but from what you've told me, this thing would suit your needs way better because of X, Y, and Z. It's actually cheaper and we can save you some money. And like, that was our job. We were the experts. But everyone knows not to trust a car salesman because there's money involved, right? There's this ulterior motive.
Vested interest.
Vested interests. Now, you need to take a step back and apply that to every other industry. And COVID was the biggest version of this. So we covered during the pandemic, the number one reason why the pandemic happened was money. And it wasn't just for Fauci to get paid. It was for big pharma to get paid. Everyone thinks the largest industries in the world are things like the oil and gas companies and all that sort of stuff. No, the number one industry in the world is pharmaceuticals. And as we covered on the show, about 80% of the patented medicines that were sold in the US market were due to come off patent in 2025. So the game plan was this: create the buzz around COVID to then create the acceptance of mRNA technology. And then once we did that, and again, remember, they had to use an emergency use authorization just to get this approved because it's never passed actual trials in the past when they've tried this before. Then once they whipped it through, they psyoped the public into just accepting mRNA technology. You would remember this from the pandemic, Alex. They changed the definition of what a vaccine was to be able to include mRNA technologies in that. Because the old definition of vaccine was literally a substance that you would take to prevent you from getting a disease. They changed that definition. They changed the English language to make money. That's what this was about. And so for people like Alex and I, we're salespeople. We are innately attuned into looking at people's ulterior motives because we saw it every single day at work. It was not only our job, but it was also, we would see it from the customer perspective every single day. Every single customer who brought their trade in tried to hide all the things that were wrong with it because they wanted more money for their trade. It is human nature. It is natural. But for some reason, human beings in our society have that natural survival instinct when it comes to dealing with a salesperson at a car dealership. But they completely forget about it when it's about stuff that is far more important, like your own health. So, I'm not saying you cannot trust experts anymore. What I am saying is, number one, look at which experts were right and which experts were wrong and weight their opinions on future scenarios accordingly. So there are many people like Dr. Peter McCullough, like Dr. Asim Malhotra, like all of these guys were right. They were just shadow banned off the internet so you didn't get to hear them during the pandemic. But so when the next thing rolls around, I'd be looking at those guys to get better hints as towards what is the right way to go. But the number one thing, guys, is this. We're all adults. You have to make your own decisions. Do not allow your decision-making on really important subjects to be made for you by someone else who probably has a vested interest involved. The most egregious example from the Australian perspective, and I'll be writing a blog about this, so don't worry, it'll be a long-form one, but the most egregious example is Dr. John Skerritt, who was the head of the TGA during the pandemic. Dr. John Skerritt, during his time as the head of the TGA, weakened the structures that pharmaceutical companies used to have to go through to get drugs approved in Australia, to the point that with the COVID vaccines, we did zero testing in our own country. We did none.
Yeah.
The TGA relied upon the best available evidence, which was the approval from the CDC over in America. The CDC did none of their own testing either. They relied on the best available evidence, which was the information given to them by the sponsor, which was Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. So
It's so
no one
funny.
did any testing.
Have you,
Hold on, let me wrap this point up before you, because I'll be quick and then you can bring it in. Here's the thing about John Skerritt though. Where are they now? COVID edition. John Skerritt resigned from his role as head of the TGA, and now John Skerritt works on the board of the AMA, which is the largest pharmaceutical lobbying company in Australia. So while he was in office, he made it easier for drug companies to get drugs approved in this country, and now he's resigned, leaving however many dead and injured people in his wake, because don't forget, the TGA has covered up many autopsy results of people who died directly from the vaccines, because they didn't want to cause vaccine hesitancy. Funny that. He covered that all up. Now he's rolled out, and now he's got a cushy job getting paid by the drug companies to lobby the government to get drugs approved.
Yeah, he did his job. Now he gets the rewards.
Exactly.
Yep.
But he was the expert, right? So, of course, no one's going to listen to the gardener and the used car guy. Of course you wouldn't. We're not running these organizations, but guess what? Here's the number one thing. We had no vested interest in this. All we cared about was what was the truth and how can I keep my family and my friends and my community as safe as I possibly can.
Yeah, what was morally right or wrong? That's all we cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the news about Chinese peptides? And
which news? There's a lot of news going around about Chinese
they're going to do
peptides.
a crackdown because there's a massive influx of untested, non-TGA approved
Peptides.
Peptides. And they wheel this lady out whose brother died of a cocktail of these things. Where was that same energy of the things that were approved and killed those people?
Dude, we read the TGA non-clinical report on the show. It showed, A, they did none of their own testing. B, the sponsor did no testing on carcinogenicity, so whether or not it causes cancer. They did no testing on autoimmune diseases, so whether or not it might cause an autoimmune reaction. And these are the things that you're seeing all throughout the public now. Here's the other thing too that I want to remind people. The vaccine rollout began in 2021. It's now 2026. It's 5 years later. At the time, there were warnings about the mRNA shots causing myocarditis, right?
It said on the box.
Yeah, well, but don't forget, they told you get it injected into your arm and it stays locally in your arm. But then you read the TGA non-clinical report. They never tested whether the mRNA traveled around the body. They only tested something else, which was the lipid nanoparticle. The lipid nanoparticle, for those of you who've forgotten, was the fatty encapsulation that the mRNA was stored in, which allowed it to actually enter your cells. They did test where the lipids ended up in the body, and they went everywhere. And on day 2, they were still accumulating in really high numbers in very important places like women's ovaries, like your kidneys, like your brain, like your heart. They tested it. And on day 2, the numbers were getting bigger and bigger. So they stopped testing. That's in the TGA non-clinical report. But they told you, no, get it injected in your arm and it stays here. And then, here's the thing about myocarditis and what we reported at the time when this stuff was coming out. Myocarditis, which is inflammation of your heart muscle, it has a 20% fatality rate in the first 12 months. That's a big deal, right? And the reason why it does, and this is a fun fact for those of you who don't know, your heart is the only organ in your body that can't heal itself. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you get damage to your heart, it can't heal itself. It's also, ironically, the only reason why the heart is the only organ in your body that you can't get cancer in. Because the cancer is often caused by, what's it called?
A response, like an immune response.
Yeah, like a dividing of cells and stuff like that, which doesn't happen with your heart. So once you have damage to your heart, that's it. You're going to need a transplant down the track. So in the first 12 months, it's got a 20% fatality rate. But in 5 years, that rises to 50%. Now, I'm seeing news stories of young people having heart attacks, passing away. And you remember 2 years ago, everyone would go, jab related, we know what caused that. Now no one's talking about it anymore. But the reality is, a lot of these heart attacks in younger people that are taking them out today is probably more of a sign of a vaccine injury than the stuff that even happened back during COVID.
If you are experiencing any of that stuff, if you did get the jabs, go to Peter McCulloch's website, and he's got the McCulloch protocol on there, and there's a whole bunch of things that you can do to help sort of prevent any further damage. It's all up there for free, so the interventions are quite cheap, just like normal stuff. But try to get ahead of it. I was only talking to a friend yesterday because we were talking about the sort of the vindication, and he admitted to me that he had to rush himself to hospital. He was in the car, and just out of nowhere, his heart just raced away from him, and got all the scans, and they said, "No, you're fine." And he's like, "I'm not fine."
Yeah.
And they but they can't admit it.
No.
They can't admit it.
Dude,
'Cause they
Fauci
told
had
you
a
to
heart
do it.
attack.
Yes.
It was in his diaries. He wrote
We were
about
surprised.
it. He didn't tell
We were
anyone.
surprised that he got the actual jab, because we were saying during the day that they were probably all getting saline because they would have known what was in it. But actually, in saying that though, I still think that the jab did help some people, maybe a very thin slice of older people. But I still don't know if it's at the cost of other issues. Like the fact that they said we should have used it for highly vulnerable, to me says two things. One is it might help them more, but number two is if they get harmed from it, it's actually easier to absolve ourselves.
Yeah,
they
have an inbuilt excuse. Oh, they were old, they were going to die anyway. And look, here's the number one thing when it came to older people. And again, this is something that no one talks about post-pandemic. In 2020, when the virus was really starting to wreck people before the vaccines came out, it was the treatments that killed people. So if you go to the UK, we've covered this show before, there you can actually see the spike in prescriptions of two drugs, morphine and midazolam. And they spiked massively because that was this top-down protocol that I think it's the NHS over there was told to use in their hospitals. Morphine, midazolam. Two drugs that suppress respiratory function, used to treat a respiratory virus. I was talking to a friend of mine about this, whose partner passed away. They used similar drugs, morphine and I think something similar to midazolam, actually it might have been midazolam itself, in her end-of-life care.
Yeah.
To literally help her stay comfortable and pass away, right? So, they were prescribing these drugs to elderly people who had a respiratory virus, two drugs known to reduce respiratory function. And so you can see the graph. There's a massive spike in these prescriptions, and then a week later, there's a massive spike in COVID deaths. So this was all in 2020. Now, the thing that happened in Australia a lot, so we've covered on the show remdesivir, right? And some of you might remember, early in the pandemic, there was all of this thing of, we need to get more ventilators. We need ventilators because we've got to put all these people on ventilators. For those of you who don't know, to get put on a ventilator, you need to be put in a medically induced coma, right? So they put you on this coma, and then they'll give you, in a coma, hooking you up to a ventilator, and they're giving you this drug called remdesivir. This is a drug that was nicknamed Run-Death-Isney in hospitals because it had a 30% death rate. Because what it does, as a side effect, it affects your kidney function. So when you're hooked up to a ventilator that's artificially pumping your lungs in and out, you're taking remdesivir, it affects your kidney function, so you're unable to excrete liquids out of your system. They've also got you hooked up to a saline IV bag because you can't drink water while you're on a ventilator. So what was actually happening was people's bodies were becoming flushed with fluids that they couldn't get out, and then the ventilator was pushing it into their lungs and they drowned.
Yeah.
There was another element to this. You may remember from up high, I don't know if it was from the TGA or a health minister or something like that, But they said not to give elderly COVID patients antibiotics. This is something Jared Rennick bangs on about a lot because he's the only one smart enough to actually remember it and understand it. When elderly people get viral diseases, it's never the viral disease that actually kills them. It's a secondary bacterial infection like pneumonia. So what you'd normally do, if an elderly, frail person gets a viral disease, you immediately start a course of antibiotics to kill any of this bacteria, to stop that secondary infection. They told hospitals not to give it to the old people.
Mm-hmm.
That killed old people. We know now. Everyone gets COVID. Now it's a seasonal flu. Everyone gets it all the time. Some people are still testing. God knows why.
I reckon I had it this week because I'm on these steroids for my throat. And I've got this cold now, and for a whole day, I couldn't smell or taste anything, which I've never had as a cold before. I think that's a COVID one.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you're starting to paint a picture, mate. Like, you got a swollen throat, you're getting COVID, you live in Brisbane, you're buying hibiscus Fanta. Like, come on, dude, just come out already. But here's the thing, right? So remember, like, here's the point, just to wrap this all up, because again, like I was saying before, I've forgotten more about COVID than most people ever know about COVID. And I hope that I can educate people by writing this blog out, and I'll provide resources and all of that stuff too. But the number one thing is, every single one of these elements I'm discussing was told for people to do, whether it's patients or medical professionals, was told to them by some expert, that they literally handed over the care and their lives to these people.
The agency, yeah.
Agency, personal agency, best term, thank you. They handed over their personal agency to these people. And now they're gone. Mm-hmm. And no one cares. Yeah. You should care. And the thing is, like Alex said before about Fauci, you're not going to get justice from these people. But the least you can do is to ensure that their deaths weren't in vain, so you actually learn from it, and you do your own research, and you make better decisions for you and your family. That's the only thing that you can rely on moving forward.
Good transition, because I have the new conspiracy theory.
And now you're going to transition too? Jeez, Brisbane's done a number on you.
I'm formulating this myself, and I need your help.
All right.
Okay, I need your help. So I've been thinking about this for a little while now. It's starting to all accumulate, and this is a conspiracy theory that I've made up purely through the lens of cars.
So you're also thinking out loud rather than...
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, a good way to put it. And I've pitched it to a couple of people, and no one's really rebuked it. A lot of people, and the people I pitch it to aren't just like yes people. They're people that are quite happy to push back.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been noticing in the auction rooms, right? So we put 300-400 cars a week up at auctions, mm-hmm. used cars. And what I've noticed recently is the rapid deterioration in the reliability of cars that we knew to be reliable in the past.
Interesting, yeah.
So the brands that we always held in extremely high regard for reliability were a lot of the Asian, like a lot of Japanese in particular. Korean cars came really good. I remember Korean cars when you were selling Kias, they were at the top of the JD Power reliability rankings. But that's not the case anymore. So just for, this is a good piece of information for anyone going out and buying a used car. Mazda CX-5 diesel, every engine will fail.
Yep.
Hyundai i30s and Tucsons, the petrol engines, probably every second car will fail.
Which is wild, because we thought they were so reliable.
Yep. Yeah. Hondas that have never seen an engine light on a Honda in my whole fucking life.
Yeah.
Now every second or third one has engine lights. Usually it's nothing that bad. It's often oxygen sensors, right? Anything with a continuously variable transmission. So Subaru in particular are really suffering. So from 2014 or 15, they switched to continuously variable automatic transmissions.
Yep.
And every second one fails.
Interesting.
Ford has issues with any car that has an internal wet drive belt, which is their 2-liter Ranger product.
Mm-hmm.
Their Ford Fiestas, Ford Focus after a certain model.
Are they still selling EcoSports?
No, I think they stopped. I
Okay.
don't think they're important, but they're affected by it too. Any of those ones that have dual clutch gearboxes, so DCT, which is like Volkswagen Golfs, Ford Focuses, Ford Fiestas, Mercedes have them. I haven't seen the problems with them, but these are becoming notoriously unreliable. Okay. Now, I was asking myself, why are they becoming more unreliable? And the main reason is all the technologies that have been added to these cars over time were all to fix a problem that has been decided for us, which is not pushed by consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And that is emissions.
Right.
Okay. So a lot of the damage done in, especially like the older diesel cars, were from AdBlue systems.
Yep.
So AdBlue is an additive that you add to diesel to help change the particulates that come out the exhaust. DPF filters. So that's a filter that sits in the exhaust for diesels that accumulates all the shit, gets to a high temperature, burns it, and then still dumps it out the exhaust. EGR valves, which recirculate the shit that comes through the engine. They put it in another container and then put it back through the engine and burn it again. The oxygen sensors are the ones that are, you replace an oxygen sensor on every second car at the moment because it throws an engine light up. And it's never a fault with the car. It's always a fault with the sensor.
Right.
So the market never asked to have these features. Policy did.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me say that again. The market never said, I don't like the particulates coming out of that exhaust pipe. Because you couldn't see them, right? I don't like it. I wish they did something about it. No one, and I've been in the industry for 22 years, no one has ever said, can I have a car with a DPF, please? Do you have a car here that has a secondary additive that I need to add to the car? Do you have a car that has an EGR valve? Okay? No one's ever said that. CVT gearboxes are the worst gearboxes you could ever put in a car. They make a car way worse than it was before. Okay? The idea was to keep the revs low, but now it's a belt run thing, just like a push bike, and the fucking belt snap.
Yeah.
Okay? And it also takes away the innate beauty of an internal combustion engine, which is revs. The higher the revs, the more power you produce later on. Well, the CVT gearbox takes the revs away and basically revs the transmission more than the engine to keep your engine in a nice functioning range. So this doesn't sound bad yet, okay? But I just find it's an interesting point that the market never asked for any of that stuff. Policy forced it on the manufacturers. And now those cars have a trash resale value. If you're driving a 150,000K CX-5 diesel, your car's worth $1,000.
Yep.
Okay? So then I started asking myself, who stands to benefit from these policies? Okay? So I think I said it on this show maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that I'm now at the position where I think an Chinese electric car is potentially the best solution for a new car.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I used is, and this is purely on numbers, right? Originally, the price of an electric car was very high, the cost of running it was very low, and the resale was very low compared to an internal combustion engine. Therefore, the numbers didn't stack up. Now, with the way China's producing them, the cost of buying them is now even lower than internal combustion equivalents. The cost of ownership is very low because the electricity is cheaper than petrol. And the resale is probably going to be the same as what internal combustion ones because they've taken such a hit on reliability. So now the financial argument for EV, in my opinion, is stronger than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who pushed for the EV transition?
Globalist bodies like the WEF.
Right. And who benefits the most from it as a country?
China.
Right.
Because they produce the majority of the batteries.
And who has all of a sudden got 60 brands ready to hand out EV cars all around the world.
Yeah, it's China.
And who supplies all the infrastructure necessary to facilitate a renewables transfer?
China.
Okay. So if we follow this to its logical conclusion, let's say we buy in full hog on transferring our grid to renewables. We're going to spend trillions of dollars. We're going to put solar everywhere. We're going to put wind turbines everywhere. We're going to somehow figure out a way to not get those boom and busts with all the electricity generating at one moment.
Yeah, let's be charitable and say this actually happens.
Yep.
And it works.
Has our sovereignty as a nation gone up or down in that world?
Massively down.
Now, some would argue, and I'll make this argument, you could argue your sovereignty has gone up because you now have, as an individual, if you're a rich person and you have a house and you've got solar panels on your roof, you're now generating that electricity there and you can use it for your car. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I would argue that is more sovereign.
But that's sovereign for the individual, not for the nation.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. What happens when we move completely to that world? Just a bit of a side note. The rough number is if you move transport to transport is like 2 times all residential and all commercial power consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why a battery in a car is fucking huge.
Yeah.
Okay? And it doesn't get you all that far per charge.
Yeah.
It's very, very consumptive, very high consumer of energy.
Yep.
So we need to find 3x what we're making now, okay, in renewables,
mm-hmm.
to convert everyone over. What then happens? So let's say we're there. Let's say it's
2035.
With 2035, everyone's got an electric car. No one's got gas stoves anymore. Everyone's got electrified everything. What happens when China says, well, we're not going to sell you a solar panel anymore?
Yeah, look, that's the thing that you kind of, I know you're thinking about it, but you kind of left it out. We produce none of these products. Yeah. No solar panels, no batteries, no wind turbines. We manufacture none of this stuff in this country.
So also, every single one of those cars are all connected vehicles.
Yeah.
So you can't get an electric car that isn't connected to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want my car connected to the internet.
No.
Look, Android Auto now gets over-the-air updates. I also heard there's a Chinese company, Zeekr, who's apparently if your VPN switched on your phone and you're driving your car, it thought you're in a different country, so it shut the car down. Okay.
Wow.
So now they'll say, oh, well, just in case someone steals your car,
yeah, and transports
you want to be able to shut it
overseas.
down. Okay. It's not a fair transition. More cars are driven regularly than they are stolen.
Yes.
Okay. They have the ability to turn them off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They tell you that. They tell you, like, we can do that, but for your protection. You can do it for your protection. If they decide that they want to cut your energy off and they don't want your cars to move around, they can do it.
But even worse than that. So you've discussed on the show before, there was that story about, I think it was a Chinese EV factory that caught on fire, and they've traced it back to a Tesla battery that apparently failed that was parked there. And then the conspiracy theorists were like, well, Elon obviously knows that China is trying to steal all of his technology, so you could remotely set that battery on fire and blow up the whole factory. Yep. So if you replace every single passenger car with a battery-powered Chinese vehicle, which could have that happen to it remotely, you wouldn't even need to fire a shot to take over the country. You just blow up every car.
With self-drive.
Yeah.
With self-drive.
Yeah.
So I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I would recommend you go and buy a Chinese car.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd also recommend having a dunger out back, like a Datsun 120Y or an old Jag or something. Actually, I reckon the best car to protect yourself from this outcome is probably like a 1970s or 80s Mercedes-Benz. We call them Taliban taxis. It's like what the what the Middle East use. They run them up millions of kilometers on them. They're just workhorses, extremely overly engineered, well built. But go get a diesel one before they've made common rail diesel engines, because what you can do is you can go to your chip shop and get the oil out of the vats, filter it, and it will power your car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sovereignty, right? But I just want people to realize what we are advocating for.
Yeah.
Now, and then the other big thing is the whole reason why we're doing it is to lower emissions, but we're only lowering emissions here. We're not lowering emissions there, which is where they're making the stuff. Okay. So you might think like, oh, we're doing so good, and you know, we care for the environment, and sure, our environment might be beautiful, but you're still pumping the same amount of carbon as the atmosphere.
Can I tell you exactly what's going to happen if this happens in 2035?
Mm-hmm.
It will be none of the doomsday stuff. There won't be the Chinese government won't take over everyone's car and, you know, drive dissidents off a cliff or blow them up in people's houses and do a forceful takeover of the country or anything like that. This is what will happen. In 2035, if every single Australian has ditched internal combustion engines for a battery-powered car, the government and the media will start telling us, oh, there's not enough CO2 in the environment. All the crops are starting to die. There's not enough plant food. And they'll switch us back to combustion engines. Because at the end of the day, this was never about emissions.
I can actually give you a parable that we have done here in this country to prove your point.
Right.
Which is shopping bags.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my 50-year-old mate. I think I was on the phone to him, and my fucking paper bag like blew a hole in the bottom of it. And he's laughing. He's, oh yeah, I remember when we had paper bags, and they said we're harming too many trees, so we're going to go to plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And they started charging us for them. And then we went for plastic. Oh, we're getting rid of too many plastic trees. We need to go back to paper, and we're going to charge you for it. It's that, yeah, you're right. You're 100%.
That's what's going to happen, because this was never about emissions. It was always about money. It was about creating a brand new multi-trillion-dollar global industry, because all these things, like I said before, they're pushed by globalist bodies like the WEF and the World Health Organization and all these parasitic globalist entities which get to dictate countries' policy. Meanwhile, they're all just in the pockets of these predatory billionaires that all the greenies pretend they hate, even though everything that they support,
advocate for, is theirs.
That's right. It's all been about money. It's always been about money. Right? Yeah. We know it. They know it in particular. So that's what will happen. Nothing bad will happen about the Chinese electric cars. But we'll get propagandized into switching back to internal combustion engines, because you got to keep that money rolling in, bro. You got to keep that money.
But it will. The one thing I will say though that will be affected is the manufacturers that we know are fucked.
Of course.
So I think Peugeot's already pulled out of Australia.
That's good.
Mitsubishi's looks like Mitsubishi might as well.
Yep.
There's some real heavy hitters. Oh, Stellantis is effectively bankrupt.
Yep.
The Volkswagen Group just cost. They had a $20 billion loss.
Is that Volkswagen Auto Group, or VAG for short?
VAG, yep. They and all of it is through. Sorry, it's. Let me criticize them and try to help them at the same time. So the criticism is that they didn't lobby hard enough to make sure that these features that they were adding would fail the motors. Like if they pitched to the community, if they came out and said, like if the lobby group came out and said, hey, we can bring this stuff in, just so you know, your car's lifespan is going to halve.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay more for it because it costs us more to make it.
Yep.
They were honest about that, and the consumer was aware of what they're going to get into. The consumers might have said, hey, I don't want those things. Okay. It seems like all the regulations perfectly suit the Chinese manufacturer of cars.
Yeah.
So
but I
even
don't think
some
it's
of the
just
safety
that.
stuff.
I don't
so
think it's just China. I think it's globalism.
Some of the safety, yeah, but what my question is globalism Chinese communism infecting the world? That's my point.
Yeah, look, quite possibly. And like we saw examples of that.
They're the only people that benefit from globalism. They benefit because they've got the lower wage. They've got a large population that needs stuff to do.
Yep.
They're not the consumers. We've spoken about it on the show. They don't consume to anywhere near the rate that the West does, okay?
Yep.
So they are reliant on us. I'm saying globalism is the push of Chinese direction. They are also way smarter than us. They think way further ahead. They don't think in 4-year or 3-year political cycles. They've got a plan that's 50 years off into the future. And if you look, now I have got another little shard that I'm going to introduce into it. This might be too far. I'm also surprised that China. Okay, let me give you a data point that Jason will recognize this because he was in the industry at the time. In 2019, a Volkswagen Polo was 18 grand. A Yaris was 18 grand. So an entry level Volkswagen product, small little auto, was about $18,000 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Those cars now are $34,000. Okay. And it's the same, that extrapolate that across the entire model range. You know, we were selling Amaroks for 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
They're now like 75 grand. Okay. Because of the influx of free money that the West gave to everyone, that drove the cost of everything up. Okay. So the Polo and the Yaris from 2019 is the same car that it is today, but it's just double the money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that it's double the money, it's that the money's halved in value in that time. Okay, we can agree on that.
Yes.
What surprises me, though, is that China in that time was able to bring a better version of those cars to market with more features, built better, with better warranties, that undercuts those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, they wanted. So, okay, if they didn't inflate, if Western countries didn't inflate the product, I'm not sure if a GAC UT, which is the car that the entry level electric car that I'm using as an example here at 32 grand, I'm not sure that car ever could have been 18 grand
Mm-hmm.
if we didn't inflate the assets.
Yep.
So, could it possibly be that COVID was a great tool that was used to devalue all the currencies of the West, and China was going to manipulate their currency? They're known for riding their they play their money markets very well.
Well, they're the only ones who don't actually float their currency, so you don't really know
it's
how
all done
much of
internally.
their currency is in circulation. Yeah, they artificially change its value. Yep.
They are in total control of it, okay? Could that industry have existed without the West hyperinflating their market in 5 years?
Probably not. Can I give you my positive spin on all of this stuff?
Before you do that,
Yep.
am I crazy?
No, not at all. Like, these are questions to be asked. And, like, look, getting back to your point about the renewable energy stuff before, we already saw during COVID, hey, we closed all the borders. Oh, shit, we get all of our medical products from China. We're stuffed. We don't manufacture anything here. What's changed since? Nothing. We're not solving the problem. We're not manufacturing anything here to make sure if it happens again that we'll have our own sovereign capability to produce these essential goods. We've done nothing. It's all a big, it's just all a big like sideshow, like you were saying before. You're not crazy. It's definitely something that you can think about. But are you finished? Because I do want to give my positive take on this.
I'm finished.
Okay, this is my positive conspiratorial view. So, you know, we are your resident conspiracy therapists. We are not your resident conspiracy theorists. We're here to have these conversations, open your minds to some things you've never thought about, but also leave you with some practical tools to carry through in your own life. Now, here's my theory on all of this stuff. Because it's interesting that you brought this up, because I had a mate message me during the week about Taiwan. And there's a lot of rumblings about the US and China potentially going to war over Taiwan because of the AI revolution and blah, 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 blah. And there's like training sessions that are being held by the US military now where it looks like they're gearing up for something. And I just said to him...
Is the training to be able to identify the difference between a Chinese person and a Taiwanese person?
Are they different?
Well, they'll need to know when they're on the battlefield.
So here's the thing that I said to him. This is what I would say to you about your scenario, because I think your scenario is largely, I think it's pretty accurate, to be fair. But here's my point. We are being led to believe that there is this battle, this geopolitical battle going on between the great powers of the world, being the US, China, and somewhat Russia. And people don't see Russia at the same footing as those other two anymore, but they have the capability to get there if they want to. They're a gigantic nation, massively resource rich. They've got everything you need there to be a superpower, right? And people look at it and they go, oh, like, you know, they want to be the big dog and blah, 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 and they're going to battle over Taiwan and they're going to do this and it's all this stuff. Here's my thoughts. There are two big dogs in the world. There is an Eastern big dog, being China, and there's a Western big dog, being America. And every single nation that are in the orbits of those two great powers, they heel to the big dog in their area. So all of us in the West, we do what Big Brother over in the US tells us. All of them in the East, they do what China tells them to do. You got the two big dogs. Because for personal safety and survival, everyone wants to be hitched to the wagon of a global superpower that might protect you if the shit hits the fan. And I think, in the background, you've got President Xi and his bureaucracy, and you've got the US deep state. So this isn't the president, this is the CIA and, you know, the internalized deep state bureaucrats who've been there running shit for 40 years, like your Faucis of the world, but in the intelligence space. And they talk to each other all the time. And they understand, hey, we're never going to attack each other. There is too much to lose if we ever have a conflict between ourselves. But if we maintain the illusion of this conflict, every other nation will fall in line behind one of us. Because what you're saying is very interesting about the Chinese economy. You're right. They massively benefited from COVID. And remember, like we were even talking about during the pandemic, their economy was getting destroyed because like they were literally, their government was literally like they have these ghost cities where just to have productivity, they were building cities and then knocking them down because there was no one to move into them, right?
They were buying our steel, our ore, and chucking it in the ocean for later.
Yeah. So they massively benefited from the geopolitical circumstances, which essentially reestablished Chinese manufacturing. Because don't forget, they're very concerned about India, right? Because India's got 1 billion people. They're poorer. Therefore, the labor has become cheaper in India than it is in China now because the Chinese people's quality of life has started to improve and now they expect a high standard of living. So India's become the next threat to China. So what China and America, what they understand is they are in a symbiotic relationship because, like you said before, America is the largest consumer of goods on the planet. So what was the stat you told me, you said on the show the other day? It's America consumes about 30% of global GDP?
But they're also 3 times larger than India and China combined in terms of consumption.
So if you're China who you rely on foreign capital flowing into your country to be able to maintain your country and your quality of life, you need America. Because without America, you've got no foreign capital coming in, you can't afford anything, and your country implodes. If you're America and you are the consumption capital of the planet, you want to have cheap, great products that are available to your people so their quality of life is super improved, because they can afford these amazing things. Like you're saying, these Chinese cars, they're great now. They can afford these awesome products which are coming out of China. So these two countries need each other. They're actually attached to each other. But they have to maintain the illusion that they are polar opposites and opposed to each other so that every other country falls in line behind them.
Yeah, I can cite an inline example that proves your point. Okay. Right. And we have mentioned it on the show before, but it's smart to mention it now. How many times have we had like in a news article talking about Australian warship buzzed by Chinese aircraft in the South China Sea, and we have China's going to be our biggest threat. Meanwhile, come by here, whatever you want, develop whatever you want. We'll take all your products. We'll put all your have you heard that America has banned Chinese electric
Roombas.
Roombas?
Yeah, electric vacuum cleaners.
Because they've been mapping people's houses
Yeah.
and sending the data back, right? And we know they're going to do that with the cars too, right? The data is valuable, okay? And I'm not saying that like Apple does and Android does it too. So like I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
no,
but again, you don't want your enemy to be able to map your entire surroundings. You'd be quite happy if a homegrown company does that, but not your enemy.
But what I totally agree with you is that we have to have this fake feeling of tension.
Mm-hmm.
But when our actions aren't really showing that level of, like, we have economic sanctions against Russia. You can't do anything with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're not saying Russia's our biggest threat. We're saying China is. And meanwhile, we're like, manja, let me buy more Chinese stuff, please. Hey, Chinese students, come over here. Learn,
but again, so Australian leaders aren't in on the scam. So America goes, hey, China, Australia under Albanese, they're starting to act up a little bit. Just go and do a drive-by. And then China goes, no worries. And they drive the boat past. And then America goes, oh my God. Oh, sorry, Australia goes, oh my God. Chinese people are in our waters in the South China Sea. Oh my God. Like, they might attack us. America, please help. America, help. And then America calls China and goes, thanks, Xi. They're back in line again.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and on that note, thanks for joining us, guys. Like I said, you've got thevkbros.com. You've got our Instagram page. You've got Rumble, YouTube, all the podcast platforms. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that wonderful stuff. Thank you so much for your support. Donate, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.